Man, it's been a long time since your boy, the one and only Coach Tony, has been hanging out with you. Basketball season has been a killer. But that's why I coach, right? That's why we coach. We coach because we love the kids, we love mentoring the kids, and more importantly, we love doing what we do. But again, I miss you guys as well, kicking it here on the podcast. And man, we are back. Season 4, episode 419. We are rolling. And by the way, don't forget, stay hanging out with me each and every week as we're back in the shoot now, because next week is our fan appreciation show, and it's going to be a big show as it always is. But tonight, I got a close friend of mine tonight and a star. When I say star, from the sports to the community, and since it's Black History Month, we want to make sure we give her flowers while she's doing what she do. But before I get to talking about my guest tonight, man, I see my people checking in. Lisa, what's going on? Megan, April checking in the house. Thank you, guys. Make sure you get those questions ready because you're going to love our guest tonight. We're talking to a young Black entrepreneur in the sports industry, and it is all about her tonight. But before we do that, Val, you already know what I'm going to say, right? Drop it.
It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. Bounce the voice and Coach Tony, you know. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So, I said bounce the voice and Coach Tony, you know. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So, it's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the
Man, welcome back to the Pull Up Podcast with your boy, the one and only Coach Tony. It's been a long hiatus. I want to send out a big shout to all the electrical crews in the Nashville area. I hadn't had an opportunity to be in front of you since we've had a bad winter storm, knocked out a lot of power around Nashville. Still got people here in Nashville that are still trying to get their lives back in order. And I just want to praise God that he didn't really take any lives doing this, that he protected the people here in Nashville, Tennessee. Really appreciate that very well. But we're back in the shoots tonight, and it's great because the Winter Olympics is going on. My boy Snoop doing his thing, but I'm doing my thing right here in front of you with the Pull Up Podcast show. Tonight, I got to bring you up on stage, a buddy of mine that actually kind of got me involved in all this crazy stuff, the basketball and what I'm doing. But I was young at that time, growing in the business, and had an opportunity to really, as they say, surround yourself with people that understand the business and understand how to do things. I really learned at a young age. And my guest, she hails from East Tennessee, Oak Ridge area. And for you that do not know, that's just a few miles right outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. She's in the partnership, sports industry relations as a committee chairperson, and more importantly, she's a humongous advocate for women's sports. Let's bring to the stage the one and only Sheila Gibson. Welcome to the stage.
Hi, Tony.
Young lady, what's going on?
Everything is going on.
I know, right? Man, welcome to the Pull Up Podcast show, and thank you so much for being my guest tonight. I just told people, you guys don't know me. We're going to laugh. Me and Sheila, we already go back 2 decades. It's crazy. When I got involved in as we consider to be AAU right now,
yeah,
we were in the infantry. You know what I mean? So we were there when there was only, 2 or 3 teams, maybe 4 teams in the city.
right.
And we had one of the big programs. Shout out to Tennessee Thunder, Coach Mary Mike Williams, putting everything together. And Sheila was that administrator of ours, kind of like the big mama that would whoop us all together if we didn't turn things in and do stuff the right way. And it was just really great. I want to thank you very much because now my AAU is 23 years old this year, from 2002, and going in our 24th year. And it would have never been possible without sitting around, and working with you and the powers that be. So I want to thank you very much for that.
Yeah, it was good times. Good times.
Oh, yeah.
Before the circuit and the travel teams and
Hey, we talking about, and you guys talking about, and you always said we're going to date. I said we talking about this is when everything AAU had to go to Florida. Remember, Sheila, I was going to Florida so much, girl, I learned how to get around.
First Memphis, Florida.
Right. Yeah, Memphis first, then Florida. It was crazy. I was down in Florida so much. I'm like, I was giving people directions like I lived in Orlando, Man, how have you been? How did the winter hold up for you with the ice storm? And I know it was pretty bad for Nashville. How did you make it out with the family?
Actually was very, very blessed. Me and my family, we were very blessed, and I'm so grateful. We did not lose anything. We kept our heat, we kept our power. So yes, I felt very, very blessed, especially with all of those that were impacted. That it was a part of a nightly prayer for me, because again, I was very grateful, because anyone that's on here that knows me, they know Sheila does not do snow. Don't do ice.
Right.
So I pretty much hibernated in my house. I think I finally went out to a TSU basketball game.
Right.
But no, I was very, very blessed. Very blessed.
Man, it is crazy because everybody know me. I don't mind the snow. That's snow, cold weather is not going to bother me. But this ice, and people kept saying, Sheila, Tony, you from Chicago? No, we don't deal with this, man. We ain't dealing with no ice. But when we do, it's the city deals with it. We may get the ice, but you don't really know it because the streets are still drivable. Whereas in here, people don't realize it's moving here. A lot of Chicago people I bumped into, because Kroger, and man, tell you guys, if you ever come to Nashville and you want to have a great experience, come here a week before they say you're going to have bad weather and go to the grocery store. It is like going to the mall at Christmas time. It was crazy. Well, welcome aboard. For those that don't know, we're going to dig back into the crates a little bit. You're an East Tennessee girl, Oak Ridge High School. Let's go back a little bit there and talk about you coming up as a young athlete, because for a lot of people that don't know, you had an opportunity to play 4 sports: basketball, volleyball, softball, and track and field.
Right.
That pretty much took you from the fall through the spring, so you really didn't have no downtime.
Right. And I mean, as far back as I can remember, all I wanted to do was play sports.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, outside of school and all of the other things of, just living in Oak Ridge. But, coming from Oak Ridge, there were a lot of opportunities to play all of those sports, because it is a, kind of a small town. But, interestingly enough, there was always the community opportunity for sports. And so, even before I got into school in elementary, we had a girls club and a girls and boys club. And so I remember playing through that. And then also one of my fondest memories is playing for what we call the church league.
Yeah.
Right. So I played so many years with my coach was Colleen Schatz. And what's happening now, Mr. Schatz had an impact on my life as a young girl. He and his daughter and I were best friends. We went to school together, and so I played for Mr. Schatz all through those community ages. And then of course, once I got to junior high, then I played for the local junior high. And if you don't know Oak Ridge, we only had 2 junior highs,
right,
and 1 high school,
and 1 power plant that was known across the state.
The plant, the nuclear facility.
The nuclear facility.
That's right. That's right. The home of the Manhattan Project. The secret.
Exactly. And I didn't know that. That's some information. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And so you're sitting there as a young athlete and all that, and we're talking about at the time that, not like now, Sheila, at the time that you would leave your doors open, right? And run outside, leave the door open, you got to worry about it. And you're playing all these sports. How did you happen to gravitate towards basketball? But was basketball your actually favorite sport, or was it something else?
That's interesting, because like I said, I talked about how I started even before I got to elementary and junior high. My initial favorite sport was actually softball.
Oh, wow. What position?
Shortstop. Come on.
Oh, okay. You in the infield, throwing people out. I got you.
But I, again, played for Mr. Schatz then. So, that loved softball. And I can remember we would play softball all summer in the heat. but as I got older and then got just a little bit more exposure to basketball, then very quickly basketball became, it didn't take the place of softball because I still played both. But basketball, started being my favorite sport, of that one that maybe, I don't know, I just, maybe I knew there was more of a future in basketball, because at that time, the whole word softball, it's amazing how word softball is now.
Right.
And I know I'm probably aging myself, but, little girls didn't dream about going to college and playing softball.
Correct.
And they, and there was that opportunity to dream about going to college and playing basketball.
Yeah. Lisa says, man, that's awesome. You played 4 sports, and I went to school with some awesome athletes. They were big time track and field. Her and Megan and Rhea and these guys, and Vanessa. Oh my gosh, to pick them up and put them down. So she says, amazing. And that's funny you say that, because over time, and of course, people don't understand Title IX, and you're sitting in the back door at the time with one of the greatest coaches in the country, Pat Summitt, at the University of Tennessee. As a young high school basketball player, were you ever able to grace the presence of going to one of the Tennessee Pat Summitt basketball camps at all?
See, I don't think that I ever. No, I did go. I did go to a Pat Summitt basketball camp, but the basketball camp I remember more so is one of the community colleges that's close by. Again, Oak Ridge is small. We have all of these other cities around Oak Ridge. One of those cities is Harriman.
Oh, Harriman, yeah. Well,
Rome State is in Harriman. And guess who the coach was? Coach Andy Landers. And so that is, I remember going to Coach Andy Landers' basketball camp.
Wow.
And I remember my mom, him telling my mom, she's going to be a star one day. And I remember him telling me that. And and I got the opportunity to even, and I knew he wouldn't remember me, but I did remind him of that just through my engagement with the SEC. And it was one of the tournaments. So
for those that don't know, Coach Landers, Master Loving the Desi, for coming to Nashville recruiting Jessica Mooney and these girls, and instead at Hillsborough and Big Brentwood Academy, and he went on to be one of the biggest coaches at University of Georgia. And Coach Landers was phenomenal. I used to sit down and go to, if he had a coaching clinic, we would go all the way down, Sheila, to Macon, Georgia, to go to his basketball camp down at University of Georgia. And it was, or down in Sumter, South Carolina, where he would do some of the stuff across the border. But love Coach.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of basketball camps because I was busy, again, playing AAU. So right. During my junior high and high school, I always played AU every spring and summer. I joke with people when I told them I never went to a prom.
See,
every time it was time for proms, I was playing AAU basketball.
Y'all better get together. See, I told y'all, if you really want to go next level, hey, sometimes you got to make those sacrifices. I listen to people like LeBron talks about that, Sheila, that, Maverick and everybody he's got in his business sense right now, he kind of feeds off of them because he wasn't able to go to the prom or go to the disco dance or the whatever they had going on, because he was always on the basketball court traveling someplace and doing something like that. So when you found out that you were really talented and basketball was going to be it for you, when did you really start to say, hey, I can go play at the next level? What kind of schools were interested in you and started talking to you?
Well, one of the most impactful experiences that I had, and I go back to AAU, and again, this was kind of early with AAU as well, and I had these two coaches that both coached at the junior high, Coach Barry Hale and Lynn Berkey, and so they came together and put a team together. And one of the most impactful experiences I remember that really just made me say, this is what I want to do. Is I was playing AAU with them, and I was playing up, so I was younger, but they had moved me up to the older team, and the team was going, I think it was the Nationals, and really I was really there just for the experience and the exposure and all of that. If we had a really big lead, I probably would have gotten in, but I remember arriving there and walking in the gym, and that is where I I saw Kim Mulkey, Janice Lawrence, two McGee twins.
Oh my goodness.
And Cheryl Miller.
Wow.
Here, and I think maybe I was in the ninth grade. So here's these. First of all, they were the biggest and tallest women I'd ever seen in my life. But outside of Kim Mulkey, but I knew who they were, and just and I don't think I got in the game. I can't really remember, but just sitting on the bench and being in that environment, it just had a really profound impact on me and my aspirations for, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And this is what I want for my future. And I can just really remember that. And it's so funny watching Kim Mulkey now when she ages, because she played just how she coached back then.
Exactly. I heard kind of reckless and all that. It is amazing. Yeah. Hey, we are sitting here getting some bombs, getting some knowledge and some fire from my guest, Sheila Gibson, who's just one of the biggest women's sports advocate. We're going to take a commercial here because Val got to pay some bills. We got to throw a couple of things on the first quarter of the Pull Up Podcast show. We'll be back in the second quarter after these quick messages. All
right. Are you a small business owner looking to grow? Introducing the Key Spot mobile app. I'm Cynthia McAllister, owner of the IT company Quality SAP. Since 2016, we have been supporting small businesses and help them promote and share their businesses, services, and events across the country. KeySpot is more than just an app. We are a network providing community. KeySpot, connecting communities and supporting small businesses.
Man, we're in here like a basketball game. Welcome back to the second quarter of the Pull Up Podcast show with your boy, the one and only Coach Tony, and my guest sitting here in the studios with me, Sheila Gibson, one of the biggest sports women's advocate, giving her flowers, doing what? Black History Month. Man, you can't get any better than this, And we were just talking about her younger days of coming up in East Tennessee, Oak Ridge High School, and all that, and then having the opportunity to go to camps and see, now you get the opportunity, see these camps, see what it's like to go at the next level, and then you say you get the opportunity that University of New Orleans, UNO, is looking at you. How did you make that decision to go all the way from East Tennessee to New Orleans to go to school?
Yeah. So, and actually, I didn't go to University of New Orleans out of high school. So out of high school, I actually went to a school in Alabama, University of Alabama, Huntsville.
Oh, UAH, yes.
Yeah, I went there out of high school, and it's interesting because I know you had mentioned just the different schools that were being that were recruiting, and Oak Ridge High School back then, my 10th grade year, I think that was maybe the first year that we went to the state tournament, and so and then we went every year after that, and I always, myself, and I have a cousin, Regina Kirk, that played with me, as well as one of my very best friends today, Barbara Spratlin. So we take pride in saying that, we put Oak Ridge High School on the
map. Yeah.
That we didn't win the state, but we put them on there.
People got to understand that.
After that.
Yeah. And Coach Justin's got a question for you. He says, while you were at Oak Ridge and playing and whatnot, how were you able to play 4 sports and also kind of do injury prevention without getting hurt? Because, nowadays, every time you see these athletes, they either resting or ankles broke up and everything like that. So how were you able to kind of walk around those injuries and still play 4 sports fluently?
You know what? That's a great question and a great transition to this second quarter. Because I do not remember getting injured when I was in high school. But there's a big but when I got to college. So when I got to college, then that's unfortunately when the injury bug hit me. Yeah. And so again, I went to University of Alabama, Huntsville out of high school, and I was there for 2 years. My first year, I did something weird to my finger, and it was it was a dislocation in a way that the doctor told me if I play again and the ball hits my finger the wrong way, that it could grow back permanently bent down.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah. So so that impacted my freshman year when I was playing. And so that was my first injury. Came back my sophomore year and was able to play injury-free my sophomore year, and actually made All-American my sophomore year. And after that, then that's when I transferred to University of New Orleans, coming out of my sophomore year. Once I got to University of New Orleans, and that's when the injury bug really hit me. So I have actually, again, out of 4 years of college, of collegiate basketball, I only played 1 full year, and that was my sophomore year.
Oh, wow.
At least year blew my knee out, ACL, which is
join the club.
Blew my ACL and had to have surgery. Was able to redshirt that year.
Yeah.
And you know, and it happened at a time. Again, I keep dating myself, but it happened at a time when the orthoscopic surgery was just kind of, you know, it was kind of like the bug.
Get the long scarf out that long.
Right. That's right. Yeah. And you know, you ask any athlete, hey, you know, we can reconstruct it and you're going to be out X number of months, or we can do this new procedure called orthoscopic surgery and have you back. Well, you know, that's a no-brainer, right? So did that surgery, had the surgery, rehabbed, came back the next year to play in the very first game. Actually just turned my body a little bit to box somebody out and my knee went out again. Yeah, this time it was the left meniscus.
Yeah, you like me, it's about the same me, but a little different. I had my AC rehab, came back a year later, and then I got the meniscus on the same thing. And Lisa, she says that, you know, being a college athlete, she ran track. She said, what would you tell a younger Sheila having to go back and redo it all over again from college and prepare yourself to maybe have a longer college career? What would you have told yourself in high school, maybe not to play so many sports? Because that's the big argument. You know, I'm at St. Cecilia, which is an all-girls school, and 340, 350 kids, about 380 to tell the truth, but almost 70% of the kids are athletes of some sort. And the biggest argument I get is, hey, you guys are playing way too many sports. But if we don't have these girls playing multiple sports, we probably are not able to compete. So what do you tell a younger Sheila back in the day that you could have seen a longer college career?
Well, you know, as far as in high school, I can't think of anything different I would tell the younger Sheila, because I was totally committed and it was, you know, it was my whole life.
Right.
In college, and this is going to kind of go more toward the whole concept of making sure, you know, be a student athlete. And I say this just because of where I'm at in my career right now. When you see that Nashville Women's Sports Advocate on the screen, what I would say to the collegiate student athlete right now is, you know, work hard and on your craft as well as in the classroom.
There you go.
If you really love sports and you're interested in being in this swim lane, and I say this all the time, raise your head up and make sure you look from side to side, because there's so many opportunities out here that a lot of times, and I know that it goes for me too, that, you know, I knew I love basketball, and because of when I was playing, the next step was probably to go into coaching.
Right.
But now, being an advocate and a professional in the corporate world, I say look from side to side, because if you're really passionate about the sports industry, there's so many opportunities to stay in this swim lane. You know, sometimes I feel like kicking myself, because I never thought, you know, well, be an athletic director, or, you know, work for the division that you work for, you know, just through my community engagement, and especially my participation on the Nashville Sports Council. It has allowed me to be exposed to the sports industry that when I was a collegiate athlete, I didn't. I was heads down student athlete, and I never even thought about, outside of coaching, that I could stay in this industry. And there's so many opportunities to stay in this industry. And so that's something that I would just, really tell or focus on telling my younger self that, if you love sports and you want to stay in this swim lane, there is an opportunity for you to stay in this swim lane if, you don't make it to the next level. We all have that aspiration.
Everybody wants to get to the next level.
I wanted to go over, I wanted to go overseas and play basketball after I graduated from college. And again, I got hurt. The whole, and that's something that a lot of times you're just not, you can't be in control of, and you don't, predict that that's going to happen. And I had a little bit of the opportunity. I played for Athletes in Action.
Yep, I remember
that. With them, but that was also after 3 knee surgeries. And finally, at some point, I was like, okay,
enough is enough.
Right. So
if I want to keep getting this knife on me.
Yeah. So, again, just always have your plan B, work hard and aspire to go to that next level. If it is being a professional athlete that you want to be, but make sure that you also take the time to think about and lay out that plan B, and just know that there's so much opportunity in this sports industry swim lane.
Oh, that's great. And Liberty Twitchers asked a very, very tough question that this question is all the way up through the White House with the Senate and House of Representatives. But he's just saying he wants to know your thought process being an advocate for women in the sports lane. What do you feel about, the situation where we've got the trans that are who are thinking about playing in the women's lane, so to speak, and was not there years ago, but because of the laws have changed and all that. And I know you can't speak to the law, but as a women's advocate in that side of the lane, what are your thoughts and feelings about that?
Yeah. So as far as the trans participating in women's sports, me personally, I do not support that. I don't. I feel like, where there are a lot of synergies across us as males and females, there's also a lot of dyssynergies.
Sure.
In regards to the gender perspective, and again, nothing against anyone that says, I am going to go through this transition from a male to female or female to male. That is your personal preference. But as far as, where you're able to compete, if you were born a man, I feel like you need to compete with men and vice versa. So that's Sheila's perspective on it. Not a right or wrong answer, but that's just how I feel about that.
Yeah, and I understand that because, Sheila, I didn't really, kind of get that thrown at me, and my eyes, opened up until I stepped away from college after 25 seasons to go back to high school. And I didn't go back to high school to a public school. I went to an all-girls school. So at an all-girls school, I have to look at that. And I'm like, okay, man, it's 300 and almost 400 girls in this school. And if, one, I don't have to worry about the situation because one, I'm at a Catholic school, right? So that's against that rule and all that rule of thumb. But they tried to ask me that question and I laughed and I said, well, I don't have to worry about that because if that person made it past the principal and made it past the sister at the front door, then all I can do is put them on the team, right? Because you've already made it through that path. But I'm like you. I think that, we've seen some unsparingly disadvantages. I've seen some video clips for guys that was 6'5", 6'6", that are now females dunking and carrying on. It's insane. Seen some young ladies. A gentleman said that the truest one I had an opportunity to sit down with a father, Sheila, that came in town. They were on the way back to Florida running track and field. And his daughter was undefeated in track and so forth and so on. They went to Louisville, Kentucky to go to a meet, and she got blown out and kind of found out it was a trans. And so he was really pissed about it, and I could see it. You can see the muscle tones and all that. Right. So, I think that, each state is got their particular laws and everything that's going on. I don't think that this is going to go away anytime soon, but I just don't think that there should be that. Maybe, and this is just a hypothetical. Don't hit Coach Tony upside the head, but maybe we create their own lane, right? The trans league, right? Maybe we create a league that allows them to to play like that, and it satisfied, everyone around the bend, and that's where we at on that. So we're gonna take a halftime break right here, so Sheila can go talk to her team. I'll talk to mine because Coach Tony don't like losing. And we're gonna be right back in the third quarter. Val, let's pay these halftime bills. Let's talk about my All-Star Showcase coming up in Nashville as well. We'll be right back on the Pull Up Podcast Show.
All right.
Talk to me. Who you got?
I mean, just look at the lineup on the Millennials. You got Steph Curry, best three-point shooter in of all time. Matter of fact, we got Kevin Durant, KD, Slim Reaper, one of the best players. We got Harden, Joker, and of course LeBron James, the GOAT of basketball himself. And he's the all-time leading scorer. Brings teams from the bottom all the way to the top. Without him, I mean, man.
I'm gonna answer that.
What would basketball even be?
I'm gonna give you that in a minute, but okay, Coach Justin, what you got?
Man, it's tough. I'm thinking about it. Magic is gonna be AI. Jordan is gonna be Kobe. Shaq is gonna get the edge on Hakeem Olajuwon. Tim Duncan is gonna get the edge on Charles Barkley. Larry may have the edge. Millennials, I gotta X out the Millennials just because they have James Harden on there. If they might replace him with someone else that I could think of, I probably would pick the Millennials over everybody.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast.
Man, welcome back to the third quarter of the Pull Up Podcast Show. By the way, Sheila, that's my nephew. Dropped that track for me right there. That Pull Up Podcast. So I still got to be vibing around here. And Coach Justin, I like his insight. He'll be hanging out with me next week. We got something, Sheila, we call a fan appreciation show. Got to send that link so you can check that out. We argue and debate about the sports topics and all that. And speaking of that, your girl, Sarah Sanders, said, hello, Sheila, love you very much. So you got your people shouting you out. And my boy, Gary Gray, say, yo, Mr. Morgan Park, Chicago in the house. Appreciate that tonight, man, as you guys check it in. As we turn on a dime and we start talking more of your advocacy with the women in sports, and people would log this or put it in the same perspective. And even though they talk and they see when we talk about women in sports on a daily basis and what we talk about, what's the difference versus looking at a brochure than what you're doing on a daily basis?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What's the difference between?
So in other words, we look at the women in sports. We look at from basketball to like you're talking about with the soccer and everything going on, and we can read about what women are doing on the brochure. We know the WNBA is struggling to get the CBA off the ground, but on a day-to-day basis, as an advocate for women in sports, tell us a little bit about what are you doing on a daily basis in that.
So on a daily basis, because I do have to pay homage to HCA. So I actually work for HCA, right? So I work for HCA. I'm in IT, but HCA is a great company, and I'm so grateful that the leadership of HCA, part of our mission is community advocacy and community outreach. And so it's through that advocacy that I have had an opportunity to just really and I've been here for 30 years, over the last 20 years was to just kind of reignite my passion for women's sports. And as you said, it's not women's sports in regards to where it used to be and where it is now. There's so many categories of women's sports, and so what I'm doing day to day outside of when I'm at work is just however I can advocating for whatever the sport of that time is. So, right now it's basketball time. I have to say, and it's funny because most of my colleagues know, I have so many girlfriends, and those what I call the colors in my rainbow, and they know it's hard to catch Sheila in the evenings, February and March.
Hey, I'm glad to catch her late at night. I'm like, somebody stay up later, Tony Tone. So I'm like, good. She give me about 10:30. I'm like, good.
That's right. But no, this is a movement, and I always like to say that women didn't just get good at sports. I mean,
right.
Women have been good at sports.
Yes.
It's like so many things in this world operating as timing. And so, we've finally gotten to this time, where it, you see it in the viewership, you see it on what's on, the broadcasting on TV, even more increasing the number of sports that women are.
Big time.
So it's a movement, and and I always like to say too, it's not just a movement for the athletes, and this goes back to what I was talking about earlier. It's also a movement for women in this industry in leadership, and that's just as important as advocating and making sure and pushing for the athletes to have equality, but also in the professions and in the professional swim lane of the sports industry. That's just as important. And and there's a stat out there that I know it used to be like 85% of women that are leaders in C-suites are former athletes.
Yes, I've seen that stat before.
And I get that, and I totally agree. When I look back on my trajectory from an athlete to a professional, I know that a lot of my leadership skills, my determination, my discipline, all of that came from me being an athlete. I can remember, because I was a shy little girl, and people would just be so surprised when they saw me as I was transitioning into my professional career, doing speaking and things like that. But that's because of what I gained from being an athlete.
Exactly right. And Lisa just topped that. She, again, my classmate, she says, when you looking in that lane, as you're talking about swimming in that lane, but making sure we turn our heads left and right and catching the opportunity. She said, do you think that Black athletes are being adequately prepared to enter into professional sports? For example, looking at emotional maturity, sometimes that's more on the men than the women, because I always talk about that. How can football players, can't go pro until they're junior, but basketball players can jump one and done. I get that. But the women basketball players still can't leave till they're 21. So, when you're looking at that, she said, is it there, or is it interacting with other opposing fans or something financial? What's the situation there when you're looking at trying to just adequately prepare that Black athlete to let them know that they're ready for that next level or for corporate?
Yeah. So, and I'm glad I can see the question on the screen. So, first of all, I would, because this is just how I think, and I'm that person. I would, drop the Black athlete. It's regardless.
Right.
And I often have this conversation where I feel like just athletes in general are not being prepared. They're not being mentored. They're just not being exposed to the level of readiness that they need. It was probably, a few years ago, it was the readiness that they need to transition from the collegiate level to the pros. Now I don't even think a lot of them are being prepared how they need to be to transition
to college
school.
Correct.
Because, and I mentioned it earlier, with us, it was AAU. Well, now again, AAU is very, like, over here, you have the circuit and the travel teams and all of that. And a lot of these young men and young women are already making money.
Yes.
In high school.
Yes. And some people don't know that. And I go tell some of these people, Sheila, and they're like, huh? What are you talking about? I said, well, you better look at your state law. The NIL has already come down to multiple states. Yeah. In the South, unfortunately, there's not a lot of states in the South because it's sporadic, but you got to check your bylaws and know Tennessee, we got NIL. Georgia.
So I'm concerned just across the board.
Yeah.
In regards to the mental readiness of these athletes, both male and female.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, that there needs to be a focus on that, because it's not the focus that needs to be in place is not there. And, hey, some of you out there that have that entrepreneurial mind and spirit, that is a good consulting opportunity.
There you go.
It's needed, be impact, and a lot of these teams, they need that. Some of them have that position, right? Some of the colleges have a position on staff that is for mental impact of these athletes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm very concerned about it. And that's somebody who, again, is an advocate for it, not involved in a collegiate program, not involved with a professional program. But guess what? I watch. Right. And I can see it, and a lot of these
still got that background.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think about what I dealt with on my team, and there were some of my teammates that could have benefited from some mental guidance and mental counseling. But now I think it should be a part of the collegiate athletic department strategy.
There you go. They got to put it in. And speaking of strategy, let's give some big flowers out. Our girl, Dawn Staley, 500 wins the other night. Hey, they couldn't close the door, and they went down and tried to do their best, and she picked it up against your girl, Kim Mulkey.
I know, right?
Rouge, right? I was like, what? And them girls was balling. What do you say to Coach Staley, who just come in to the women's game and literally has taken it over, right? She's picked up where Pat Summers left off, and she don't worry about Gino Ariamo or anyone else. And 500 wins in a young career, and she's still doing her thing. And if you look, for those that don't know, go back and look and research it yourself. But in the last 4 WNBA championships, she's got 3 MVPs in A'ja Wilson. And she goes and look at the other around the league, and she's South Carolina girls are spread out throughout the WNBA. So, what do you got to say about that with Dawn, what she's doing?
So, definitely Dawn Staley has been transformational for the women's basketball program.
Just give me some of that Gucci.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, we forgot to add that in there. And, and the funny thing is, I can remember, watching her play when she was in college. And,
yes.
And Dawn, just like, so many other great trailblazers and legends and all of that of basketball. A lot of, there's so many factors that go into it. And, even with Dawn, I remember just being so amazed with her in regards to how she would play at her height, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
She was in there, but, coming out of college, and then, she transitioned into coaching. I think she's won like 3 Olympic medals, maybe. And I could have that wrong. She's been in the Hall of Fame. So, the term, and I hate it when people are like, oh, this is the GOAT. This is the GOAT. Well, you know what? How many times you look out in a field and see one GOAT?
Right. Yeah, not that often. And if he is, he better be grazing on grass.
Right. Get off this kick about the GOAT.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of GOATs. And guess what? With where we're at right now, and especially, and I'm speaking from this perspective of women's sports, you look across all of them, all the sports have GOATs. And guess what? There's going to be a whole lot more GOATs.
Oh yeah, Kaylin Carr gonna be a go. That's why I need you on. That's why I need you on a fan appreciation show next week to balance out these men who, like Coach Justin on here tonight and talking all that. But you're right. And I love Dawn, and I got a young lady that actually plays for me right now. Sheila, her mother played alongside Dawn Staley back in the day, and she said she wasn't a joke. Mentioned the work ethic. If you guys don't remember, as an Olympian, she played in college just as hard as she played in the Olympics, just as hard as she's coaching. And something, what I love when she spoke about the transfer that transferred out the program and that stayed, and I like it. And she said, when these young ladies want to leave, I'm the first one to pick the phone up, to make the phone call.
Right.
You know, some coaches would hate on that, Sheila. You know what I mean? Like, man, Sheila trying to leave me. Man, I'm about to crush her career. No, I'm like, nah, I want you to go wherever you're happy. Because at the end of the day, I still got a job to do. And when I see you, I'm about to blow you out and step on you, but we still going to hug at the end of the game. But I got to do what I got. Hey, I feel the same way, Sheila. I be telling these players I got, hey, play for me or play for somebody else.
Right. And I just hope there, you know, hopefully if there are some, I hope the number is small of any coaches that would, you know, have an attitude or, you know, whatever toward a player, because that's just, you know, that's not in your, that should not be in your roles and responsibilities as a coach.
Right.
You are there to guide, to mentor, to develop. And again, if someone's not happy, you shouldn't want them to stay there. And if they're feeling like they're not happy, then yes, I'm going to be an advocate for you, and I'm going to help you, you know, in any way that I can get to where you feel that you need to be.
Right. I told my mom the other day, Sheila, I was mad. I said, Mama, let me tell you something. I should have been the grandson. My son should have been my pop. The way they got this NIL money, we could have had a big old house, you know. On that note, we're going to take our last break of the day, third quarter, so we can come back. Val, pay our last bill of the night. We come back on the fourth quarter with the Pull Up Podcast with your boy, the one and only Coach Tony, and my special friend and guest, Sheila Gibson. We'll be right back. Hey, I'm Coach Tony, and this is the Pull Up Podcast Show. For every Monday, we break down the game quarter by quarter and give you information as well as break down the culture. Join us on the Pull Up Podcast Show.
Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. Bounce the voice and Coach Tony, you know. It's the Pull Up Podcast show. I said bounce the voice and Coach Tony, you know.
Man, welcome back to the show, to the Pull Up Podcast Show with your boy, the one and only Coach Tony, and my special guest, Sheila Gibson. As before we get kicked off in the fourth quarter, Sheila, I want to make sure I invite you out to March 28th, spring coming in a few weeks. Your boy has merged with LeVar Ball in the Big Baller brand. They're going to be bringing the National All-Star Game here to Nashville, Tennessee over the next few weeks on the podcast. I'll be making sure I put up the promos here for those that have got it. If you're a middle school young kid that's within the Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia area, and you feel that you got what it takes, I've been reaching out to some college coaches. They will be in-house that day. The middle school game will kick off at 2:00 p.m. The high school girls game will be at 4 p.m. The 6:00 game, the boys, Ball is Life, will be in the house filming and recording that night. And we're looking for a great opportunity. So please take the opportunity to scan the QR code. Please send me a message. Go to my IG at the Pull Up Podcast Show. Let me know you got an athlete, whether it be a boy or girl, high school, that you think can play in this game. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. But make sure, March 28th, Nashville, Tennessee, St. Cecilia High School. Get in touch with your boy, Coach Tony, on the IG at the Pull Up Podcast Show, so I can make sure I see who you have for this game. So let's jump into what you've been able to get to all over this time, looking at co-founders MMA Bradley and Aaron Ryder with Playmakers Nashville. It is phenomenal to go with your title of advocate for women in sports and see what Playmakers is all about, giving the young women who are looking to play sports an opportunity. And it's phenomenal from where they've started and where they're growing. And I want to make sure that, you know, you let Emma and Aaron know as well. I would love to figure out how to work with the program, doing some big things behind the set, whether it be doing some speaking engagements or some camps with Playmakers. I think I could have a tremendous role here in Nashville helping them grow that. But let's talk a little bit about Playmaker Nashville and your role involvement.
Okay, so Playmakers Nashville, yes. You know, and that was why I kind of shared about just being able to be a student athlete, raising your head and looking from side to side, because that's kind of my why for my involvement and support of Playmakers Nashville, because that's exactly what it is. And so, as you mentioned, Erin and Emma, I call them the E squared. I met two young ladies last year, actually during the Athletes Unlimited season. And you know, the interesting thing is, again, at the time I was on the sports council. I think it was my 8th year on the sports council, and I was leading the women in sports committee.
Okay.
And I just through that, I knew that there was like this gap in regards to what I had been able to do with the women in sports committee with the sports council, and there was still just this gap, and that gap was, you know, where do women go that are in the sports industry to find their community or their network? Because again, you know, I do a lot of mentoring and outreach, and so, you know, no matter what swim lane you're in, having that community that you can go to and feel comfortable in, but also having that community you can go to depending on where you're at in your journey, and network and be mentored by other women that are in there. And so that was a gap. And so I met these two ladies, and Emma, who actually is from Nashville, grew up in Nashville, and then Erin, who is from New York, but was relocating to Nashville. And they were like, where's the community? Where do we go to find, you know, this network of women in the sports industry? And so we ended up meeting and having lunch, I think, or coffee, I don't remember, and I was just, you know, very honest with them, and I was like, it's not here, it doesn't exist. And you know, and I also shared with them the things that I had been thinking about was starting a sports council for women, just because of what I had experienced, you know, by, you know, leading the women in sports council, because there's a difference. There's a difference in being an advocate for women's sports, and as opposed to being in the women in sports industry, and that's what they were looking for. And so we met, we talked, and they told me what they were looking to do, and I was all in. I was like, hey, this will be great. Let's do it. And so they started on their journey to do it, and I've been there supporting them, proudly supporting them, because again, like I said, I know it's something that's needed. I mean, we have 4 or 5 professional sports leagues here in Nashville, and guess who works for those sport leagues? Women. Women are in leadership there. Women are in mid-level positions there, and then there's some women that are just, you know, new to those organizations. And so that's what Playmakers Nashville is about. So we launched last Wednesday. On February, was that last Wednesday? Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. But we launched on the 4th alongside our Athletes Unlimited, and so the Playmakers Nashville launched, and it is it's an organization that's focused on community. It's focused on, you know, advocating for these women, and focusing on their professional development in this swim lane. Do you have to, you know, necessarily be in the sports industry to be a part of it? Nope. You can have aspirations for being in the sports industry. It's a membership-driven organization. We have cohorts starting at high school and college, and there's actually names for each of the cohorts, and I don't remember. I'm still, you know, early in, so I got later pitches where they need to be. But we also have a cohort that focuses on those ladies that are in college at the collegiate level, studying the sports industry, and then those ladies who are kind of mid-level management, and then there's the executive level cohort. And so again, it's membership driven. You can go to the website. Thank you for having it up there, and find out more information in regards to joining, signing up for a membership. There's scholarships. We actually launched, I think, either 4 or 5 scholarships. They're out there right now. You can go to the website and apply for the scholarships. I think the scholarships close in April. But go to the website if you have a daughter or someone that's in college, again, in this swim lane, studying to stay in the sports industry. Tell them to go out there and apply for the scholarship. It's out there, and we have an awesome board of directors. Some of our board of directors, a high percentage of them are in the sports industry. I just saw the Jahari Matthews, who works for the Titans. She's the community VP for the Titans, so she's on the board as well. And I'm just so excited about what we're building at Playmakers Nashville. I tell the ladies all the time, like, this is going to grow.
Yeah. And
it's going to keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
We were very fortunate to launch with 5 founding partners. So we have our founding partners already. And, in the nonprofit world, that's big to be able to launch your organization with founding partners that have already poured in and financially supported your organization.
Yeah.
So fortunate for that. And then we also have impact partners, and we have a couple of some community partners. Again, you can see all of that on the website. So please go out and look at it, and also follow us on social media. But this is gonna be great. And also, of course, what we're here talking about is this movement for women's sports, and a big part of that movement is also, just like what I am, are advocates for women's sports. So if you have a passion to impact women's sports, as well as impact the generation that's coming up, because like I said, I always say it, this is a movement.
There you go.
We've been good, but we're here. This is where we're here now, and this is a movement. So if you are, passionate about supporting the movement, please go out. We look for corporate sponsorship. We look for individual sponsorships or donations. We're just here to make sure that, to decrease the number of ladies that did what I did, and that was, didn't raise my head up and look from side to side.
Okay, you had them blinders on though. It's
been great for me, but if I had my way, I would be working in the sports industry.
Correct. Right? I got you. And that's where I've been tied to for so long. And we got you to Pull Up Podcast show. We're gonna make sure you guys got a sponsorship with us and run commercials and whatever we need to do and all that and everything. Do you have any events that you can speak to that's coming up in the Nashville community that if people want to come out and check it out and check out some of the events or what they call a social get together? You got any of that coming up?
Yeah. Sorry, I just see. I love you, Auntie. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, so one of them is on there watching.
Hey, like, hey, I'm watching right now, T. Hey, like, hey, I'm watching right now, Auntie.
So yes, what I would definitely like to talk about, if you don't know or not aware, is Athletes Unlimited.
Yes.
So Athletes Unlimited is a professional women's organization, and I go back because this is season 2 that they're here in Nashville.
Love Alicia Clark. She was my son's first basketball. Little Tony. She was little Tony's first basketball coach, and I don't think Alicia knows it. So I can't get it. I can't wait. Talk to Alex about coming to the last game.
There's only 2 weeks left, and I've definitely I'm. A lot of times people are like, introduce me as Sheila, and Sheila's the reason that Athletes Unlimited is here. And I definitely don't think that I am I'll say I'm not the only reason, just like that whole thing with the GOAT. Not the only reason that Athletes Unlimited is in there. Well, and actually, last year, because I knew the owners, and through my job, I had to be in Dallas. I was having lunch with one of the executives for Athletes Unlimited, Sherry Kemp. And we met on the sports council, and we were just eating, and she was like, Sheila, you should bring Athletes Unlimited basketball here. And I was like, oh yeah, I should. And so I'd already met the owner, and they were actually playing in Dallas at the
Especially
time.
after we lost the WNBA shit, I was pissed off. I was like, man, come on, y'all can't bring the W here, man. We got.
Oh yeah, well, and that's why AU is so important, that they're here for their second season, and that's why it's so important to come out and watch the games, because this is just again another opportunity for the city of Nashville to show that we are a city that supports women athletics, and we would be a good city to have a WNBA team. Last year with AU, one of the things that I had said to John when I went to Dallas for the championship week at AU, and I looked at him and I said, John, no disrespect or anything, I said, but if this is all y'all expect in Dallas championship week for AU, you need to come to Nashville. You will be blown away.
And you get your country music, the party down on Broadway, you get everything in a championship game all in one weekend. Right. And wait to get our new football stadium. Boom. Yeah. And
they did. And during the press conference when we were kicking off, I said, Nashville, come out, and these girls are going to show out, but you need to come out and support them. And at the end of the season last year, the attendance was 125% higher than it had been in Dallas the previous year.
Oh, that's crazy. Women's sports is just on. They're going to lease the girls right there and everything. And I'm loving it. Again,
this was at the kickoff breakfast last year.
Okay.
So I was on a panel with the lady next to me. That's a lot of you probably know, that Cheryl Swoops.
Yep.
With her. Megan Berry, who's the VP of operations for AU for the women. There's your girl, Alicia. And then I cannot remember the young lady's name on the end. She's she works for ESPN, so she facilitated. And then that other lady, the shorter lady, that's Mary Ellen Pethel. And she is a major, awesome historian here in Nashville, and advocates women's sports. Wrote a book.
You got Swoops and involved. I mean, you can't get any better than that. I mean, I look at it like, me and Val, a couple of parties was talking about it. I got so upset. I don't get me wrong. I didn't mind the new format for the NBA All-Star game last night. I didn't mind that at all. And what they were trying to do, the USA versus Euro and all that. But I'm telling you, I'm telling you, nothing beats my girl locking them down on Unrivaled with that one-on-one for 200,000.
Oh yeah, Unrivaled. Yeah, I missed it too, but I'm gonna go back and try and catch it. I heard it was really good.
Oh man, it was great, and they made a good point. Think about I forgot who it was. I think it was Shamgar. He says, think about when we was watching back in the 80s, right? We dating ourselves back in the late 80s, early 90s with Jordan and all them, Magic, them coming up. We lived for that Sunday All-Star game, didn't come on at 8:00 p.m. Right. See, I got home Sunday, I'm working on a couple of houses doing some work. I got home at 7:00, the game was going off. I'm like, what? The dunk contest, I mean, in the three-point shooting All-Star, it was on like Saturday afternoon on Peacock. Right. So you think about that, and he was saying, what if the NBA, to get the ratings and the numbers back, right, had a round robin that they put their name and stuff in the hat, and there was a field of 8, 4 on both sides, and they drew a card, and you played down to a championship for $500,000. Now you'll see them boys get it in, playing one-on-one for $500,000, and you get paid Saturday night. I guarantee you ain't gonna have nobody sitting down and waiting until they get to 9 or 10 points to play. They're gonna play right from point one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That, right. Like I said, that the Unrivaled, the one-on-one, that was very, very strategic and very smart.
Yep. And I love what you guys done with Unrivaled.
That is just, it's another option for these ladies.
Yep.
To continue to get to the level, even if it's from financial, they deserve it.
Yes.
They deserve it. And this is just another model. The AU is a different model. The Unrivaled is a different model. And you know what? And that's okay.
Right.
Because, I know, and again, I encourage you to come out because these ladies can play. They're playing, and it's, and then you get the opportunity to also put entertainment in it, with the halftime shows. And one of the things that I really, really love about AU is that, it's probably the only sport right now where the fans get an opportunity to be up close and talking to these ladies. That, the format is you have the game, and then after the game, there's a section in the arena where the kids get to, it's like as close as we look on the screen. That's how close they get to these players, and they get to get autographs. And, so it's just that's just another aspect of it that I really love. But what I really love is it's given an option. It's given another option for these ladies to continue to develop both on the court and off the court, because they identify like a nonprofit. They're out in our Nashville community, impacting our community. And then, and then also it's an opportunity because all of them, they don't want to go overseas during the off season.
They don't want to, not after the Brittany Griner situation.
Right. So this gives them an option to stay in the States and still, continue to refine their craft and get ready for the season, the WNBA season to kick off. So
man, and if
I like it.
Yeah, Val threw the overtime in there. She didn't give me no warning. She threw the overtime in there. But if you had to,
okay,
yeah, we had overtime. Hey, that means we played a good game. But if you had to kind of give these young women out here some advice, as to, okay, in the left hand, you're an athlete and you're doing everything right. You're doing everything you're supposed to do. You're preparing yourself for high school. You're preparing yourself for college. And if the good Lord blesses you with a little luck, right, and good health, maybe you can play at the next level. Then on the right hand, the basketball is also paying for the opportunity for you to get educated. For those that don't make it into the next level, what kind of advice do you leave a young lady, or like Lisa or Megan, the moms that's on the podcast tonight, just listen and say, hey, I love to tell my daughter this because she's looking to do this in the future. What kind of advice would you give the parents or the kids to make sure they're going down the right avenue and they're very, very well prepared?
Yeah. And it's, again, I might be dating myself, but one of the things that, and I do a lot of it, is when I was growing up, I don't remember anybody telling me to get a mentor.
Okay.
I know I had mentors. Of course I did. I mentioned, Colleen Schatz, who was my coach. Most of my mentors, I think, were probably my coaches. I think about my high school coach, Jill Pruden, and I can remember just, being so respectful of her and in awe of her. And I think about, how she poured into me and again, just helped me to develop my leadership. But now, fast forward, mentorship is all over the place.
Yes.
Right. So, and you know what? And no, your daughters, your sons are never too young to have a mentor. Because,
I like that.
Because guess what? I know I'm a mother. And so, we all have those moments with our children where the parents just don't know what they're talking about.
Right. Or the kid will listen to the coach. I've had you do not know how many parents say, hey, coach, can you just call little Johnny or little Susie? Right. Because if I tell them to do something, but if you call as a coach, they're going to come back in the kitchen and tell me, Coach Tony just called me and said, do X, Y, Z. I told you the same thing 2 weeks ago,
Right. So, yeah, you're never too young to find a mentor for your kids. But also, and I see it so much, and it's one of, my pet peeves, and that is with these, especially these young athletes and the whole travel and the circuit and all of that. Don't stop putting the level of pressure that some of these parents are putting on these young kids.
Yes.
At the age that they are. Believe me, the trajectory is long. They will have time. They're not gonna, they won't fall behind. If anything, so many of these athletes, and Deladon is a great example.
Deladon, yes.
She came up through the circuit, right? She came up through the circuit, and by the time she got out of college or was in college, she was tired. She was burned
out, and she was a super duper superstar.
Yeah, so don't make them being this elite athlete at the top of their list, because it shouldn't be. What should be at the top of their list is education and getting their schoolwork done. And this, being an athlete, being a, a NIL or whatever, all of that is in addition to, that's add-ons.
Right.
Because just like my story, I didn't predict that I was going to end up having 4 freaking knee surgeries.
Right.
But I
didn't want 4 freaking knee surgeries either.
at some point, I had to just step back and say, okay,
yeah,
this is not going to be it.
Right.
So, and I'll be the first to say, yes, did I, hit the books all the time like I should have? No.
Right.
But, so now, and this is something I like to tell, I call them my young leaders because I do a lot of mentoring. It's one thing when you do things because you don't know,
right,
or you haven't been told. And we know that can be our reality for a lot of our young kids. But when you're a young kid and you've been told and you don't have no business doing what you're doing, stop doing it.
Stop doing it and wake up and smell the coffee, as they say, because all you're doing is putting yourself in a bad situation, and it's going to take you, instead of in the places you want to be, it's going to take you. And then and another thing, and I know you didn't mention it, and just on my side of the house as well, Sheila, is that this coaching industry, this is a close-knit community. And so people think that, and I'm glad you just said a point a moment ago, because within this close-knit community, I got several people, and I'm working with a family right now. Man, I'm hoping that he's listening to this show tonight because of what you just said. But they were telling me about his daughter is ranked like in the top 5 of the nation, in like 5th or 6th grade. I'm like, come on now, come on. You're talking about 6th grade. I get it, but I could take that same young girl. She may be a beast, but I'd take her back home to Chicago and probably get her ran through. Take her to New York, probably get her ran through. Or she may be able to handle her own. But I think that we get to these rankings and this other crazy stuff so early. And then in my side of the house, I'm looking at the major shoe companies now that's involved with Nike, with EYBL, Under Armour League, and then you got Adidas League. And now EYBL, I just saw this year, Sheila, expanded to the fall. So in a moment, with the NIL in college sports, and the way the money and all the lawsuits is coming about, they're like, these college coaches are not even looking at high school players. Sheila, I'm struggling to get, I'm literally on the phone the last 2 or 3 weeks, calling a lot of my college friends and so forth and so on to get them in the school. And this is why I'm having my all-star game, because I figured, hey, I can invite the kids I'm trying to work with to an all-star game, invite those coaches, and who knows, there may be a diamond in the rough. But if these kids are not being focused from day one, like you just said, to use the basketball, the track and field, the football, the golf, the swimming, the whatever, use it as a carrot to get to college, to pay for that education, and use the education while you're there. Now that you can receive NIL money, go to college to get your pockets fat. So when you graduate and you are not a professional, you're going into the career with no bills and at least an opportunity to have money in your pocket to get your career started.
Yeah, it's important. And, and this is, and one thing, and it's, hey, you need to be pouring into your children the importance of, again, having that relationship with God. Early.
Always keep
just like a mentor. You're never too young to learn about the importance of understanding your why and your how, and the impact that having your own relationship with God impact these young athletes.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Thank you so much. And I want to make sure, tell Alicia I need to get up on my show, and I want to make sure that over the next few weeks here, we grab a couple of athletes to come on and talk about their experience with AU, keep growing. I've already told you when you and I talk, I want to be involved. I want to get involved somehow, some way with AU and see how I can help out and all that. But man,
only 2 more weeks, only 7 more games.
Yep, and I'm done with my basketball season. I'm done now, so now I can get out and check it out, so I ain't got to worry about it. And those games are usually played on what, Friday, Saturday, correct?
No, so they play on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. 2 games.
Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
And they start at 5:30, with the exception of this week, because this week is their Wednesday game is a 10 o'clock and a 7, because they're having the Metro schools come at 10. So Wednesday they only have the 1, but Friday and Saturday it's 5:30 and 7:30.
There you go. If you're in the Nashville area, make sure you check out AU basketball here. And of course, with me, I got my sports marketing company that's doing some big things right now too, Sheila, with the Rise NIL sports marketing, where I'm working with a lot of from high school to college to some semi-pro athletes and brands, making sure that the athletes have an opportunity to work with the brands to showcase what the brands want, maximize their opportunity as an athlete, and make sure they get exactly what they need. And again, make sure that when you want an opportunity to figure out, can I make some money in this next life? Sure you can. Can I go to college and get paid? Sure you can. Connect out with me at www.therisenil.com so I can make sure I follow up with you and see exactly if you have what it takes to work with the brands. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, March 28th, Nashville, Tennessee, big baller brand coming with the Rise to give the All-Star game here in Nashville. Excited to see that. And by the way, Sheila, on Tuesday nights, me and Val kind of flip the script and get away from the sports and go to our entertainment side of the house. And tomorrow night, we do a show called Interludes Talk on Tuesday. It's Black History Month. And we got a guest tomorrow night, and V. Harrison going to be on the show with me and Val, talking a little bit about some stuff. So if you get a chance, tune in 8:00 p.m. on Interludes Talk on Tuesday. So
she's an entertainer. She's a musician. Is that what you said?
I think I'm not sure she's a musician. I'm not sure that is because I didn't. But she'll be on the show tomorrow. That's on Val's side house, and I got to get to know her as well. So I'm excited to get that to check her out tomorrow night. So, I appreciate you, girl, for coming on. I had to run you down. It was so crazy to bump into you over the holidays. I'm like, this is great. And to turn around a few weeks later to make it happen, it was just, again, like she said, gave it to God. He brought it together. And again, it's like we still sitting back in 2003, Yeah,
I need to follow up with you about that game, because I need to understand how that's working. I have a 6'4" nephew that's in the 10th grade.
Okay, yeah, and I'll get that to you.
Playing that.
Well, it works by I putting the roster together. That's how it works. So, so you get to know the right people. But yeah, we'll make sure we do that. So, but again, thank each and every one of you guys tonight for checking in on the Pull Up Podcast Show with Coach Tony and of course my guest Sheila Gibson. But right now, as we do in our podcast land, pal, what we say. Take us out of here. Sheila, hold on. We're going to be backstage in a second.
Who won?
On what?
It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. Bounce the boys and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast. So, I said bounce the boys and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast. So, it's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So, it's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So, Kev is the engineer. Val is the one you hear. Hey, Coach Tony got the sports show. Let's go. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So I said Kev is the engineer. Val is the one you hear. Hey, Coach Tony got the sports show. Let's go. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So it's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. Let's go. Hey. Let's go. Hey. Let's go. Hey. Let's go. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast.